Good morning. Mrs. Posner's here, back with the read aloud. We didn't have any last week because of our short week, so I'm excited to be back today to share some stories with you. I'm going to try something different this week. I'm going to read books that are on the screen for you that I'm not holding so that you can see the words and the pictures better. Excuse me. So hopefully you're going to like it this way as well. So let's get started with our first story. Hold on. Sorry, friends. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen. We have a book up here. It's called A Dog Day for Susan. That is the title of our book. Here we go. Great Aunt Alice is coming for a visit next weekend, said Spencer's mom. She's bringing her dog, Susan. What's she like? Asked Spencer, who never met this great aunt or her dog. She's dignified and graceful with long, beautiful hair, replied his mom. I meant, what's the dog like? Said Spencer. I was describing the dog, said his mom. After Spencer's mom went back into the house, Spencer and Barney stretched out in the warm sunshine for a little snooze. What's a snooze? What do you think? A little nap. That dog, Susan, doesn't really sound like our kind of dog, does she, Barney? Spencer asked. Woof, said Barney. You're right, said Spencer. We should remember that underneath all that hair, Susan is probably just a regular dog. All week, Spencer and Barney looked forward to having another dog to play with. Finally, just after lunch on Saturday, the doorbell rang. Spencer and Barney rushed downstairs to meet their guests. Hello, said Great Aunt Alice. I'm Great Aunt Alice, and this is Susan. Wow, she does have long, beautiful hair, huh? After saying hello to Great Aunt Alice, Spencer tried to give Susan a hug. Barney tried to give her a welcoming sniff. Susan passed them without a look, a lick, or even a tail wag. She was not interested in them. Everyone followed Susan to the kitchen. What a lovely cake, said Great Aunt Alice. I baked it just for you, said Spencer's mom. Thank you, said Great Aunt Alice. It will make a perfect snack. Cutting a thick slice onto a china dinner plate, Great Aunt Alice set the plate on the floor in front of Susan. Oh my gosh, can you believe she gave that delicious cake to the dog? For a long moment, no one said anything. Then Spencer said, Can I have a piece of cake too? Not now, muttered his mom. When Susan was done licking the icing off her plate, Spencer's dad asked Great Aunt Alice what she'd like to do that afternoon. Let's go to the zoo, cried Spencer. Dogs aren't allowed to visit the zoo, said Great Aunt Alice stiffly. Zoos treat dogs like second-class citizens. Oh, said Spencer. Well, how about the beach? The beach would be fine, said Great Aunt Alice. We can leave just as soon as Susan wakes up from her nap. Susan slept all afternoon. There she is sleeping. That evening, it was more of the same. Before supper, Spencer missed watching his favorite show because Susan's favorite show was on. At supper, Spencer's dad barbecued 4 juicy steaks, and Great Aunt Alice fed Spencer's steak to Susan. After supper, when Spencer was enjoying his cake, Great Aunt Alice handed him an umbrella and asked him to take Susan outside to do her business. Unfortunately, the umbrella wasn't for Spencer. It's not fair, Barney, Spencer grumbled as he climbed into bed that night. Susan is treated better than me. It's like she's the human and I'm the dog. Woof, said Barney. You're right, gasped Spencer. Susan doesn't know what she's missing. We should teach her how to be a regular dog, Barney. Together, they came up with a plan. The next morning, Spencer didn't complain when Susan got the last slice of bacon, even though there was another dog and at least one human who wanted it too. Instead, he said, Instead, he said, "Can Barney and I take Susan to the off-leash dog park?" "Susan isn't that kind of dog who goes gallivanting all over the place," sniffed Great Aunt Alice. "Neither is Barney," said Spencer. "He just likes the park because it's a place where dogs are treated like first-class citizens." "I'll fetch Susan's leash at once." As soon as they were outside, Spencer said, "Okay, Barney, show Susan how to be a regular dog." So he's showing her all the things that dogs like to do. Barney obeyed with breathtaking fever. He strained against his leash. He barked at buses and cyclists and pedestrians and squirrels and fire hydrants. He gulped down stuff he found on the ground before Spencer was able to pry it out of his mouth. He peed everywhere. "Are you getting all this, Susan?" asked Spencer. When they got to the park, Spencer opened his knapsack and pulled out a blueberry muffin, a dog biscuit, a wad of greasy paper towel. Susan hesitated before helping herself to the paper towel. "Good girl," cried Spencer. "Dogs love people food, but they love garbage best of all." Susan's tail wagged just a little. Next, Spencer pulled out his mom's hairbrush and started brushing Barney. Susan watched Barney twist and squirm and snap at the hairbrush. Then, when Spencer pulled out his dad's toothbrush and tried to brush Susan's teeth, she bit down on the toothbrush and growled. "Good girl," cried Spencer. "Dogs hate getting their fur brushed, and they hate getting their teeth brushed worst of all." Susan's tail wagged a little harder. Finally, Spencer said, "Susan, I'm going to take you off your leash, and you're going to run away and not come until I've called you at least a bazillion times. Understand?" Susan seemed to understand, so Spencer slowly unkipped her leash. For one forever moment, Susan just looked at Spencer. Then she barked in his face and started chasing Barney. "Come," hollered Spencer. "Susan, come." Susan ignored him completely. Spencer, Barney, and Susie stayed at the park for hours. By the time they were ready to go home, Susan was covered in burrs and her tail was wagging so hard it nearly knocked Spencer over. "You know what, Susan?" asked Spencer. "Arf," said Susan. "You're right," laughed Spencer. "I am glad to know that underneath all that hair, you're just a regular dog." Sadly, Great Aunt Alice was not glad to know that Susan was just a regular dog. "Where is her dignity?" cried Great Aunt Alice. "Where is her grace?" "I think she left them at the dog park," said Spencer. "And I think this visit is over," said Great Aunt Alice. As soon as Great Aunt Alice had packed the suitcase, she called for Susan. Susan came right away. She didn't twist, squirm, or snap as Great Aunt Alice brushed her to a glossy shine and buckled her into the front seat of the car. Spencer sighed. "You look just like your old self again, Susan. I guess you love Great Aunt Alice even more than you love garbage, huh?" In response, Susan gave Spencer a big, slobbery, garbage-smelling dog kiss. That was when he knew that she was going to be okay. "Come again soon," said Spencer. Said Great Aunt Alice. "Arf," said Susan. "You're right, Susan," called Spencer as Great Aunt Alice began driving away. "We will be friends forever." The end. Well, that was a cute book, A Dog Day for Susan, because she actually got to be a dog, right? Instead of just sitting all proper and not doing any of the fun things that dogs get to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story today, A Dog Day for Susan. I enjoyed reading it to you this way. I hope you like the books on the screen. I think you'll be able to see the words and the pictures better and follow along. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll be back tomorrow for another story. Goodbye.